wasn't sure there was going to be a sparring match agreement that we'll spar for a while. I wasn't sure. I was honest about it. That's why he said it's going to go rounds. I wasn't sure if there was an understanding that, we'll play a little bit and then we'll get a little more and, whatever. So that was part of it.
Acknowledge Jake has had double jaw surgery, 4 plates, 8 screws in his face, and everybody is just kind of breezing past that like it's no big deal. But I'm looking further into this because that's no easy surgery, and I'm starting to ask the question, is this the beginning of the end of Jake Paul's boxing career?
As his brother, I was just shocked. I'm in the hospital with the guy, and he's like, yo, can you make this TikTok? Can you film this for me? He's like laughing and having a good time.
Does not have any agenda against Anthony Joshua, because it feels to me like that fight, I before the fight, I was refusing to accept the principle that this fight could be scripted.
The boxing world is in uproar after Anthony Joshua badly hurt Jake Paul, with some claiming AJ should be arrested. Jake reportedly suffered severe injuries, including jaw fractures requiring surgery and screws. Experts slammed the mismatch, arguing Joshua's power was unsafe, igniting fierce debates over fighter safety and matchmaking.
Away from the power, you could call it running, and you'll be right. You can also say it's smart for a guy of Jake's size and understanding that AJ is a fucking monster. It's also smart to fight that way. It's not the most aesthetically pleasing. It was not.
Analysts Brian Campbell and Shaka Majui offered an in-depth analysis of Jake Paul's fight against Anthony Joshua, examining both tactical choices and the physical punishment Paul endured. They explained that Joshua's sheer power led to heavy damage, with multiple clean shots contributing to injuries severe enough to require jaw surgery. To survive, Paul leaned heavily on movement, using constant circling, footwork, and evasive tactics to stay off the ropes and avoid prolonged exchanges. While this approach lacked sustained defense, it allowed Paul to last longer than many expected against such a dangerous opponent. Campbell and Majui pointed out that Paul's emphasis on mobility and ring awareness helped manage his stamina and limit some of the damage. However, Joshua's strength still left visible marks. Overall, the analysts said the bout highlighted the value of defensive strategy while also exposing the serious risks of mismatched, high-profile fights.
Could this be the end for him in terms of what he's doing in the boxing ring?
Listen, so long as people will tune in and so long as Jake Paul is paid by Netflix or any broadcaster to air his fights, we're going to see this continue. And Jake Paul knows his business model, right? Now, this deviated, this AJ fight, which came together kind of last minute after the Tank Davis fight fell apart. But we know Jake Paul's MO here. It's find the most popular guy with the most physical disadvantages for me to fight. And Jake Paul has the benefit that he's turned himself into a villain, or in the pro wrestling circles, a heel. People tune in to watch. We did not tune into this fight to see competitive boxing. Most of us tuned in because we thought, here's Anthony Joshua. Here's a 2-time unified heavyweight champion, a guy who physically just overwhelms Jake Paul. And we're finally going to get what Tyron Woodley and Anderson Silva and Nate Diaz were not physically fit, whether it be through their size, experience, or age, to do, and that is knock out Jake Paul. And so, because I don't really feel like we got that satisfying comeuppance that a lot of people have been waiting for, it kind of gives Jake Paul a little bit of mystique, I'd almost say, to still try and string this along. Now, I don't know in terms, he says he wants to be cruiserweight champion. I'm not quite sure what the competitive road there is, because let's make no mistake, the reason this fight lasted as long as it did is because Jake Paul focused exclusively on being elusive. He did his best, and kudos to him, right? He did a great job of not getting cornered. He was always on the gas until the gas sort of fell out from underneath him. And so I don't quite know, short of leveraging his popularity, how he's going to get to that title shot if he's not actually going to fight, like really fight an elite boxer. But if he's looking to make money, there's the KSI fight out there. There's the Tommy Fury rematch. There is ways for Jake Paul to...
Former UFC champion Michael Bisping reacted strongly to Jake Paul's crushing defeat against Anthony Joshua, calling it a masterclass in professional boxing. He emphasized just how outmatched Paul was, noting the precision, power, and relentless combinations behind Joshua's punches. Uppercuts and straight shots left Paul with almost no space to maneuver, exposing serious flaws in his defense and overall strategy. Bisping explained that Paul's broken jaw and the repeated punishment he suffered were the result of facing a bigger, stronger, and far more skilled opponent, something he had never experienced before. He added that Paul's bravado, media hype, and confidence couldn't prepare him for the technical and physical realities of fighting an elite heavyweight. While Paul managed to survive the rounds, the visible damage and Joshua's complete domination highlighted the huge gap between professional fighters and celebrity crossover boxers. Bisping concluded that the bout was a stark lesson in respect, preparation, and skill in boxing.
My humble opinion, because I'm a big Anthony Joshua fan. Of course, I've been a supporter for the longest time. A rather lackluster, unmotivated Anthony Joshua that didn't look like he was being particularly nasty, right? A lot of the time he was out of range, and okay, it is hard to land a shot on someone that's backing up and moving away the whole time. And there was a lot of times where he had him in the corner and he could have thrown a shot. And sometimes he was telegraphing his shots. And anytime he did go in to throw a punch, as I said before, Jake Paul would shoot in and turn it into a wrestling match. And even when he wasn't shooting in, he was clinching a lot. This is boxing, it's not MMA as we know. The referee should have done a much better job of getting in there and separating them much, much faster. As I say, it was the 6th round. I think it was the 4th round he got dropped twice. In the 5th round he got through it. In the 6th round, caught him with the jab, a glancing right hook, he goes down, and that was that. That was all she wrote, right? I did a live, there was about 9,000 people watching at one point. Nobody was particularly enjoying the matchup. Listen, okay? I respect both men. I respect anyone really that steps into the ring, okay? And certainly going up against Anthony Joshua, that was a tall task, okay? You know, metaphorically and figuratively, right? It was a tall task. It was a big job. It was a tough opponent. It was a mismatch, and it was, right? Jake Paul never worried Anthony Joshua once. He never rung his bell. He never caused any damage. He never had him worried. He never did anything. It wasn't a fight. It was a display of how long can Jake Paul last? Can he run away long enough to...
After the blockbuster fight between Jake Paul and Anthony Joshua, both were reported to earn around $92 million each, making it one of the highest-paying boxing bouts streamed globally on Netflix. However, Joshua's payday took a massive hit due to taxes. As a UK resident fighting in the United States, he faces both US federal taxes and UK international tax obligations, which could reduce his earnings by roughly $66 million. This significantly lowers his actual take-home pay compared to the headline figure. In contrast, Jake Paul, being US-based, avoids the additional UK tax burden, allowing him to keep a larger portion of his earnings despite losing the fight. The situation underscores how taxation can drastically impact international boxing purses and serves as a reminder that reported earnings often differ greatly from the money fighters ultimately receive.
Has to pay, as you see here, a whopping $43 million. $43 million of his $92 million purse. That means Anthony Joshua was left with $49 million. Right? Now, he also has to pay, I believe, 10% of that to his promoter, Matchroom CEO and promoter Eddie Hearn.
Dominic Engel delivers a candid analysis of Jake Paul's broken jaw fight against Anthony Joshua, highlighting Paul's defensive approach. Engel explains that Paul focused on avoiding direct engagement rather than trading blows, making it difficult for Joshua to trap him against the ropes. Despite taking a heavy right hook, Paul showed remarkable resilience, refusing to flinch. Engel points out that Joshua wasn't fighting at full intensity, as an 8-round bout didn't require him to go all out against a less experienced opponent. He emphasizes that Jake's skill level meant a full-on assault wasn't necessary for Joshua to dominate. Engel draws a comparison to Tyson Fury's performance against Ngannou, noting that even elite boxers adjust their effort based on their opposition. While Joshua's clean shots did land and cause visible damage, Paul's movement and ring awareness allowed him to survive the rounds. The fight showcased defensive strategy, calculated pacing, and the controlled nature of mismatched bouts.
Right. And AJ's not the best at closing people off, and it's hard chasing somebody down who don't want to engage. And then he tagged him every now and again. So
does it look bad on him? Because the one right hook that he took was a serious shot. Obviously, he didn't flinch from it, but the fact
not really, because you'll take into consideration that you can get. There will be there'll be no way. Well, Anthony Joshua thought, if he hits me, there's a possibility he's going to hurt me. And I felt a couple of shots early on in the fight. There's no way Jake Paul at the level he's at, I know his box and what he's done, that he's, and it's like AJ, like you say, he's got to have completely gone and be punch drunk for Jake Paul to beat him. After the last fight against Dubois, people think, well, his jaw's gone there, he can't take a shot. Of course he can take a shot. And it's weighing up the opposition, and he weighed up the opposition, and he's not going to be training like he trained for Usyk or for the big fights. He won't do that because they can't get motivated enough to do it. They'll do enough to do the rounds. What was it, an 8-rounder?
Yeah.
So, same again. So he did enough. He never looked in any trouble. It didn't look great, but Tyson Fury didn't look great against Ngannou, did he? But who did he box after Ngannou?
Usyk.
Exactly. Yeah. But you would have never thought, looking at the performance against Ngannou with Tyson, you would never thought that he put in the performance he did against Usyk.
So you think it's more of a case of you kind of, no matter how good you are and how much you train, if your position isn't great, you sometimes
you're going to box at the level of the opponent because the opponent makes you fight at that level.
That's quite a fair.
So, but when AJ did do what he got to and manages to land.
He emphasizes that surviving against a fighter of Joshua's caliber required immense courage and resilience, highlighting the physical dangers of boxing and proving that hype alone cannot prepare someone for elite competition. After the fight, Jake Paul's mother shocked the boxing world with an emotional outburst, directing anger at both Anthony Joshua and promoter Eddie Hearn. She expressed frustration at Hearn for smiling, while Jake struggled and criticized Joshua and Hearn for not stopping the fight sooner, believing her son endured unnecessary punishment. Her reaction underscores the intense emotions and fierce protectiveness surrounding Jake, reflecting genuine concerns about fighter safety. While some fans and analysts viewed her behavior as extreme, many also understood her perspective. Given the brutality of the bout and the serious risks Jake faced under the power and skill of a world-class heavyweight like Joshua.
Eddie Hearn, for instance. Yeah.
Why? Why Eddie Hearn?
Because I don't like his smug face.
You don't like his smug face?
No. Literally thinks he's better than everybody in the world.
Shit-eating grin. I said the exact bro.
Jake's over there, struggling, and he's sitting over there smiling like the cat who swallowed the canary. Guess what? Did he fucking get in the ring?
Do you think he was happy with what happened to Jake?
Oh, of course.
Yeah, for sure.
Oh my God.
Now, this is coming from a mother, too, guys. So I just want y'all to understand. This is a mom. But at the end of the day, it's his job to laugh. Because, hell, I was laughing at Jake Paul. I can't even lie. I'm not a big Jake Paul fan. But, part of the process. We got to report on this stuff. But Mama Paul, hella mad.
God, and that's sickening to me. It's sick. I don't like it. Even Anthony Joshua had some class and, apologized to me.
Did he really?
Yeah. He worked his way through the crowd and came up to me and said, "Mom, it's just boxing."
He says it's the fight.
After the fight, attention shifted to Logan Paul, who confronted and appeared to intimidate Anthony Joshua outside the ring. Meanwhile, Jake Paul was hospitalized, visibly in pain, and recovering from a brutal knockout that left his jaw fractured. The stark contrast between Logan's confident presence and Jake's vulnerable condition highlighted the harsh realities of facing an elite heavyweight. Fans and analysts noted the intensity of the situation, emphasizing that while Logan drew attention, the true story remained Jake's struggle and the severe physical toll the fight took on him.
I'd say AJ fighting Logan Paul would be more of a mismatch than Jake Paul. You know what I mean? Because at least Jake Paul has taken boxing or has trained with real boxing trainers in real boxes. Whereas Logan Paul, he did that exhibition with Floyd, and Floyd's a little guy. Not saying a little guy can't thump, because Floyd really gave him some two pieces with no sides, right? But at the same time, you take his friend, Floyd's friend, Anthony Joshua, and get hit by him and see what happens. The same thing. Probably worse, because I think Logan, you know, he's a little taller than Jake. And because he's a little taller than Jake, he may think he's a little stronger than Jake. Which I don't know which one's true or not. I don't think it makes a difference. But because he may feel that way, he may want to go in there and try to bang it out with AJ. And if that happens, it's going to be a lot quicker. See, that 6 rounds it took AJ to finally catch Jake. It took that way because Jake was on that bicycle, moving, being elusive, trying to come in and then come out. He tried to do a very poor man's Alexander Usyk, right? And it didn't work for him. Logan ain't gonna do that. Logan's gonna come in throwing punches and bunches like he did with Floyd, trying to get him in there and, you know, do all this stuff. And what's gonna happen as soon as AJ lines him up, sets his punch, he's gonna hit Jake and he's gonna break Jake down. He may break his jaw or face or orbital bone or something. Nose, something is gonna be broken when it comes.
Chris Algieri and Paulie Malignaggi delivered a blunt breakdown of Jake Paul's fight against Anthony Joshua, highlighting the devastating impact on Paul. They noted the bout ended with serious injuries, including a jaw broken in 2 places and lost teeth, emphasizing the extreme physical toll of facing a world-class heavyweight. Both analysts pointed out that Joshua's power, precision, and relentless combinations left Paul little room to move, exposing major defensive weaknesses. Algieri and Malignaggi stressed that the fight was a stark warning about the risks of entering the ring unprepared against elite opposition. Their analysis underscored the brutal reality Paul faced and the lessons for anyone attempting high-risk matchups against top-tier fighters.
Ngannou, like, yeah, he's got balls. Ngannou's got balls, man. He went out there and he tried to fight, tried to win. Jake Paul didn't try to win at any point during the fight. He was just trying to survive. I think that's actually ultimately going to hurt him with boxing fans.
What do you think, Paulie? I mean, you talked about the in and out kind of style, kind of hits and runs, and you said that A, it runs out your legs. He was exhausted a couple rounds into the fight, and B, it only saved him for so long.
He doesn't have the boxing skills to box on the move anyway. Once I saw the big ring, I knew he was going to run for his life. When you're that much of a novice, which obviously it's not even an insult to him, it's just lack of experience, but when you're that much of a novice, you either know how to run for your life or fight all out. You don't have that in between yet. You haven't developed enough of that in between boxing acumen to really pull that off. And so what ends up happening? You know, you're either gonna fight your ass off and you'll last a minute. Chris, you're being generous. Round 2, he would have got knocked out in round 1 if he would have fought. But at least he would have fought. He would have got the respect of the people and more importantly, the boxing community instead of these clowns that follow him and are still defending him. You know, now what happens is you didn't get any respect as a fighter. You didn't get any respect as a fighter because you didn't try to fight at all. If he would have, I was watching that through 2-3 rounds. I'm thinking to myself, this guy would do this for 8 rounds if he can. If he can do this for 8 rounds, absolutely not fight at all, absolutely not engage a single time in 8 rounds, he will actually do this. And he'll do it shamelessly. And that's the problem. That's the problem. The shamelessness of his approach to the fight. You're gonna be a fighter, then don't make an ass out of the whole sport, out of the whole business, and out of yourself first and foremost. Because in the end, what happens? You got his jaw broke anyway. So what ends up happening? What's the worst that's going to happen? You're going to get hurt, you're going to get knocked out? You got hurt and you got knocked out anyway. But you just prolonged the inevitable, and you got no respect out of it now. Because nobody's respecting that kind of performance. Nobody's respecting a performance where you were totally content to steal money from everyone by running for your life for 8 rounds. And if you could have not engaged a single time in 8 rounds, that's what he was trying to do. He was trying to pull that off.
That wraps up today's video. Thanks for watching. Make sure to stay tuned for more updates, highlights, and insights. See you in the next one.